Hugh says to me, AI is a force multiplier for innovation, doing the right things well, but also appears to be a threat that I'm very unsure about. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety about where this all goes. And I think Hugh is kind of getting to that. So, Brandon, Jan, what would you say about kind of this idea of AI as a force multiplier that potentially could turn into a threat, maybe to individuals?
So force multiplier, you have to make sure AI works in your interest and you understand how agents work together, where they get data from, and how they analyze data. I think once this is proven and fully understood and maybe even signed off by the innovation management teams, then you can trust the outcome of AI in terms of it's doing the right things for you and analyzes based on your own criteria and KPIs. But without doing that and just going wild, exactly, we would have the threat that it's not being regulated and maybe not being managed. And then the outcome is not the pleasant outcome we would like to see.
I mean, this is kind of in the thought experiment category, but when we talk about agentic AI doing the work of innovation and potentially doing funding and capital allocation for these projects, I start to think of in some ways like a closed loop system where if you imagine, there's a startup here in the Boston area that's raised $1 jillion to do laboratory experiments and drug development, right, with a lot of AI and automation. And so if that succeeds and you basically have kind of a lab in a box that you can say, hey, here's a list of diseases that have no treatments today, it will disrupt a lot of human jobs, maybe except for then you have to run the clinical trial and recruit people to test these new drugs. About, okay, at some point, do you have these closed loop experimentation funding development systems? And if so, like what is the human role in them or around them?
But if I take it all the way back to Hugh's question and your question is, what if you as the person are approaching that question wrong and you're not asking the right question right now of us, and Hugh isn't asking the right question of us? And what I mean by that is, did you test it with your AI counterpart first so that it would challenge you to ask a more detailed question? And so is every person using that intelligence at their disposal every second of every day before they come into a meeting? We'll have simulated all this under human control by asking the right questions using AI intelligence along the way. It shifts the conversation and it puts humans completely in charge.